Welcome back to Salma Daily English, the place where we help you speak English with confidence, not fear. I'm Salma, and today we're talking about something that almost every English learner experiences. Have you ever known exactly what you wanted to say, but when the moment came to speak, your mind suddenly went blank? You freeze. You hesitate. You start overthinking every word. If this has happened to you, don't worry, you are definitely not alone. And the surprising truth is that the problem may not be your English level at all. Today we'll explore the real reason why learners freeze during conversations, and more importantly, how to stop overthinking when you speak. To help us understand this better, I'm joined by a very special guest, performance psychologist Dr. Marcus Levin. Dr. Levin works with professionals, athletes, and speakers who need to perform under pressure. And interestingly, many of the psychological challenges that athletes experience are the same challenges language learners face when speaking English. Dr. Levin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Salma. I'm really happy to be here. And I love this topic because so many English learners think their problem is vocabulary, when actually the problem is psychological pressure.
That's fascinating, and I think many of our viewers will relate to that immediately. Dr. Levin, let's start with the question that many learners ask themselves. Why do I suddenly forget everything when I start speaking English?
Great question. What you're describing is something we call performance anxiety. When someone speaks in a second language, their brain often enters a kind of evaluation mode. They start thinking, am I saying this correctly? What if I make a mistake? What if people judge my accent? And when your brain focuses too much on judgment, it stops focusing on communication.
So it's not that the person doesn't know the words, it's that their brain is under pressure.
Exactly. The knowledge is there, but pressure blocks access to it. It's very similar to what happens to athletes. A basketball player who practices every day may suddenly miss easy shots during an important game because they're thinking too much about the result.
That sounds exactly like many English learners. When they practice alone, they speak well, but in a real conversation, everything feels difficult.
Yes, and one of the biggest reasons for that is perfectionism.
Perfectionism. That's a big word. Can you explain what that means in this context?
Of course. Perfectionism means feeling like you must speak perfectly before you feel comfortable speaking at all. But language doesn't work that way. Communication is naturally imperfect.
That's such an important point. Many learners think, I will speak English when my grammar is perfect.
Exactly. But if we wait for perfection, we often never start. In psychology, we often encourage people to shift their focus from accuracy to connection.
Connection instead of perfection.
Yes, when you speak, your goal should be simple. Share an idea. Even native speakers make mistakes when they talk.
That's very true. Sometimes even I start a sentence and change it halfway.
And that's completely normal. Real conversation is messy.
Another challenge many learners talk about is mental translation. They think in their native language first, then translate into English. Why does this slow people down so much?
Mental translation creates a delay because the brain is doing two tasks instead of one. Step 1, create the idea in your first language. Step 2, translate the sentence into English. This process takes time and increases hesitation.
So ideally, learners should try to think directly in English.
Yes, but slowly and gradually. It doesn't happen overnight. One way to start is by thinking in simple English phrases rather than complex sentences.
That makes sense. For example, instead of thinking a long sentence like, I would like to explain my opinion about this topic, you could simply say, I think, or in my opinion.
Exactly. Shorter thoughts reduce pressure.
Something I've noticed with learners is that they often pause because they're searching for the perfect word. What would you recommend in that situation?
Use what we call communication flexibility. If you don't know a word, describe it.
Yes. For example, if you forget the word calculator, you could say, the machine that helps you calculate numbers.
Exactly. That skill is actually more important than vocabulary size.
That's a very encouraging message for learners.
And here's another important idea. Fluency grows from action, not preparation.
Meaning we become fluent by speaking, not by waiting to be ready.
Precisely.
Before we continue, let's quickly review some important words we heard in this conversation. The first phrase is performance anxiety. Performance anxiety means feeling nervous or stressed when you need to perform in front of others. For example, speaking, presenting, or answering questions. The second word is perfectionism. Perfectionism means wanting everything to be perfect. In language learning, this can make people afraid to speak because they don't want to make mistakes. The third phrase is mental translation. It's when you think in your native language and then translate your thoughts into English before speaking. And finally, we talked about communication flexibility. This means being able to explain an idea in different ways if you don't know a specific word. Now let's do a quick exercise to help you reduce overthinking when speaking English.
Great idea.
Here's the exercise. It's called the 3-second speaking rule. Step 1, think of a simple question like, what did you do yesterday? Step 2, give yourself only 3 seconds to start speaking. Step 3, start talking with a simple sentence like, yesterday, I... Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about perfect words. Just continue speaking.
This exercise trains your brain to prioritize communication instead of evaluation.
Exactly. The goal is not perfect English. The goal is continuous speaking.
If learners practice this for just 5 minutes a day, they will notice their hesitation becoming much smaller.
And remember, mistakes are part of learning. Dr. Levin, thank you so much for sharing these insights with us today.
It was my pleasure. And to everyone listening, your voice deserves to be heard, even if your English is not perfect.
I love that message. And to everyone watching, if you've ever frozen in an English conversation, now you know that the problem is not your intelligence or your ability. Often, it's simply your mindset. The good news is that confidence can be trained just like language. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to Salma Daily English and share this video with a friend who is learning English too. Also, tell us in the comments, what makes you nervous when speaking English? Thank you for learning with me today. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and I'll see you in the next episode of Salma Daily English. Bye!